And today we're talking about a topic that we've already talked about, I feel like in December, but I felt like it's warranted and needed again. And I have so many couples that are in sex therapy right now. And they're like, yeah, I can't focus on my sex life because I'm stressed at work. My anxiety is high in general with everything that's going on in the world. At this point, people are kind of scared to open their doors. What will happen? And I even had a friend of mine talk to me about ICE was sitting in their church parking lot. And so with that type of tension and stress, how do you maintain a good sex life? Like, how do you bring your brain down to even think about, something personal when you just said it, Jessica, when the world is on fire? Like, I'm supposed to be cool, calm, collected, and feeling my best sexy self when, it's just crazy out there. So what advice would you give people?
I think it's really important, and not that I can give anyone permission to do anything because I don't have control over anyone. But sometimes it's helpful to hear the words, like, you have permission to not. Like, we have permission to not focus on this right now. With some of the couples that I've been working with, we need to focus on the actual thing. So it makes me think of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So when we look at the pyramid, and I almost want to pull up an image to where we can actually like look at it, the very bottom layer. Now, mind you, Maslow's hierarchy of needs was stolen from the Blackfoot Indians. So like problematic, everything's problematic. It's fine. But like the way that the base layer of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is talking about safety. So food, shelter, psychological safety, physical safety. And right now we are in a space where a lot of that is very tenuous. Inflation, job losses, like a lot of those things are putting a lot of pressure on our couples. So physiological needs: air, water, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction. Actually, that's below safety needs. So like, we're struggling with the physiological needs. We're struggling with shelter and water and food and clothing and sleep, which love and belonging is like the third one up. Intimacy is up here in the orange. We're not there. And so it's one of those things that I think it's really helpful to, one, understand, like, you are not alone. This is not something that you are struggling with alone. And how do we address the physiological needs so that we can then address the safety needs, so that we can then address the love and belonging needs? We gotta do the foundational stuff first.
Brilliant. Because it's one of those things that I'm going to stop sharing the screen now. But it's one of those things that I think I'm going to stop sharing. Let's see if I remember how to do that. That it's just like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. I'm not crazy. If I'm looking for food and shelter, worried about food and shelter, worried about if I'm going to be okay. And let's be real. Some people are terrific. I'm sorry. I don't like, what big word can I say? How scared some people are right now.
Terrified.
Terrified.
Yes. Like
all of those words. And so it makes sense that you can't do these grander things of connection and esteem and self-actualization. And so it's so crazy. But
sometimes, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I think sometimes it's really helpful that if we finally address the elephant in the room, if we finally address, like, we're trying to survive, we're trying to keep going, we're trying to have the energy to keep going. If we acknowledge that we're in a system that is not meant for that, the system is working exactly as intended. The system is trying to keep everyone tired and exhausted because an exhausted populace does not organize. An exhausted populace does not fight back. An exhausted populace just is like, I don't know, I'm trying to maintain. But if we start recognizing, like, I need to move out of the country, I need to get a different job, I need to liquidate everything I have and figure out something else somewhere else. That can be really helpful and give a surge of hope. That hope can connect you to intimacy. Because
Yeah.
if we start dealing with the things that are there, we have hope. We have like, oh, okay, it doesn't feel as crushing. It doesn't feel as hopeless and Sisyphean of I'm keep pushing the boulder up the hill and it keeps rolling back down. If we can break out of that even just a little bit, that can spark intimacy. Like if we think of funerals, people have a lot of sex around funerals because it's an affirmation of life.
Yeah.
It's a way to feel alive. And so right now, we're not feeling alive. We're feeling like drudgery.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to pivot just a little bit because you brought up a thought in me of the little things. And so what are some little things you can do that will make yourself feel better every day? So going back to gratitude list, maybe doing an act of kindness every day. These are like the little things that will help you make it through. And so I was talking to somebody who knows about Viktor Frankl's The Man's Search of Meaning, and how he said, like, in that horrific period of his life,
so he survived the Holocaust, just for anybody who did not know. He was in a concentration camp, and like his whole family was in the like he was in it, in a camp that was freed, and he wrote this book. So like there's a context for that.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so anyway, one of the things I remember reading in the book, he would say how like life giving, how if somebody saved somebody a half a piece of bread, and so that is enough to keep you going. And so what I want to encourage everybody to do is, the world is on fire. You may not be able to do any of the big things, or the big things seems like there are 1,000 million steps to do. Focus on the little things then. Focus on little acts of kindness, little moments of joy. I do love the internet for the ability to go find like a video that will make you laugh and smile. So babies laughing usually does it every time. Babies anything. It was one where like it was a series of just babies who were trying to like eat food like the adult was eating, and the baby's like, and it's just so cute. And so what are the little things that you can infuse into your life to make it easier, to reduce the anxiety? Also, I've always seen medication as a bridge over troubled water. The waters are troubled. It's okay. It's okay. The waters are troubled. And so please relax any judgments you have on, I shouldn't need assistance. So the world is on fire, and you may need some assistance. So, and you've never been as old as you are, probably with this amount of stress in the way that it's happening in your life. And so looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs was brilliant, because it does like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Because even with everything going on, there's still this expectation that we're supposed to be making $1 million a year and living our best life and vacationing and under waterfalls. And so it's like, no, you can't do it all. And so one of the things that I know I probably said this last week, because it's my theme for the year, it sounds like, is this may need to be your rest year. This may need to be your do less year. This may need to be the like, I'm not accomplishing any goals year. Like, I'm just going to maintain. And it's okay. If we look at the seasons, spring is for like planting and doing some work. And then summer is for like watering those plants and nurturing. Fall is for harvest. Winter is do nothing and rest. Like, do nothing and rest. And so if your life is not following the 4 seasons of the year, still allow it to go through some season and identify your rest period. And so for some people, it may be after a big project. For some people, it may be before a big project. For some people, it just might be now. I also want to talk to my caregivers real quick. You are not making it up. It is hard to take care of your life and somebody else's life and their physical health. And so I just want to remind you guys that you're not making it up, and get all of the support you can. And it is a hard thing to do. And you may have to look at options you never thought you'd have to look at or wanted to look at. And just the way culture is today, we have community, but not in a way in which historically your parents may have had community. And so a lot of people are taking care of their loved one in isolation. And so you guys, I just want to know you're not making it up. These are all my caregivers. You are not making it up. It is really hard. It is really hard. So that's been another theme of the week. Jessica, for you, what themes have you been seeing with clients this week?
I think sometimes there is a clinging to comfort, clinging to familiarity. Like, I'm afraid to leave this relationship, or I'm afraid to speak out about this relationship because that will cause a change. I think a lot of times people, and I think I've probably talked about it either. I know I've talked about it a lot. I don't know if I've talked about it here. So there was a fantastic study that was done about lottery winners and people who have had amputations. So people who are supremely happy because they just won a lot of money, and people that are potentially at their worst because they are losing a limb. Yes. It's a happiness study. And so what they found is that the people who are super high and the people who are super low balanced within 6 months to a year. Humans have the ability to level out. It doesn't matter how bad it is. It doesn't matter how good it is. We're going to come back to our level. And so, like, I think a lot about, like, Viktor Frankl and like what he did, like when you talked about, like, he could find a happiness level because people adjust. People adjust to all kinds of atrocities and horrible situations. There's a fantastic song by Jonathan Colton that's like Chiron Beta Prime, and they're talking about, like, we, you know, are robotic overlords, and we're counting down the days to Christmas, and we can tell by the marks on the wall, you know, like, and it's meant to be funny, and also, like, it's a little disturbing of, like, oh, okay. But, like, that's what people do. Even when you don't have access to things, people want to find hope. They want to find joy. They want to find things. They want to find this balance. And so, like, what you were talking about, the gratitude in this study, this is what they found to raise your overall balance. Winning the lottery, getting a new job, getting a new car, none of that raises the whole balance. You're up here, and then you're eventually going to come back here. Gratitude, doing things for others, connecting to the larger sphere, that is what raises your overall happiness level. So it's that continuous work, not the one-time thing that you're like, if I just make $100,000, it's going to solve. Well, I mean, yes, it will solve some problems, and that doesn't necessarily change your baseline.
Move the middle, which is why you can have somebody who's extremely successful and financially well off, like a Robin Williams.
Yeah.
And they still commit suicide.
Yeah.
You know?
And like, one of the things that I think is really important, because you were kind of talking about this, of looking at the little things, I like to think of our brain as both like a microscope and a telescope, because sometimes we need to zoom in order to cope. And so it makes me think of, like, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Now a blade of grass is your biggest obstacle. Like, it was doing all of these other things, and now you have to deal with things that are very minute. And then sometimes, if that feels too overwhelming or too much, we need to zoom out. Zooming out looks like humans have been around for a long time. We've done these patterns before. We've had these exact actions before. People have survived. There are chronicles, there are histories of how that's happened and what that's looked like. And if that feels better to kind of zoom out and, like, human history, what does this, like, I am a blip in space.
We made it through world wars. Like,
yeah, like, and people had babies, and people went to school, and people, you know, like, had normal jobs. During atrocities, like, though that was a thing. And so I think a lot of times when we think of rest as resistance, joy as resistance, these little things of like, you can't take this from me. I'm going to find these little things and this is going to be for me. And you don't get to have that.
Yeah, that's really, really good. Okay. All right. Closing thoughts. What do you want people to know?
It's 9:47. So like, we've got some time.
We do, but it just kind of felt like that was a nice, like, oh.
Yeah. No, I think it's, gosh, take a walk, get outside.
Do a gratitude list daily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about how much you've drank water. Think about how much you've moved your body. Think about making sure that you have snacks regularly. Get back to the basics. Get back to the physiological needs. And try and make plans. Like, again, I was telling you at the beginning of the session, one of my sessions with my couples was literally just figuring out how to relocate. They didn't feel safe. Let's relocate. And it's like, what do we do for that? How do we build a list for that? Where do we go? How feasible is that? And it's like, okay, this may be possible to do X, Y, and Z. And what does that look like? And what do we need to be mindful for? And that is a way for them to connect with their intimacy, because they're too exhausted right now. It's too much. It's too tiring. And so, yes.
Let me actually go down that line, because if intimacy is too tiring, then let's figure out what we can do. So for a while, I was talking about the term lazy sex. Also, I have a good amount of couples who can just lay together naked and feel connected. And I think that's probably been one of the most surprising things of my work over the last 20 years is to have couples, we're on the way to sex and we get to this spot where they're just like, oh God, this feels good. Because it was really more about the time and the connection than did we actually have to do all of the sex things. And so I want people to know it can be really simple. And so figure out some really simple things to do. Also, you can say no to all of the things. You can. And a lot of us, it's an internal pressure to do all the things. Well, I got to do this, and I got to be doing this, and I got to be doing this, and I got to be doing this. Or I should. And so take a step back and see, is it an internal pressure that you're putting on yourself, and can you let it go? Yeah. This isn't funny, but it is funny to me that this person was just like, I wish it was so socially acceptable to commit suicide. And I was thinking, but if you're dead, nobody, like, you don't know what everybody's thinking. Like, you won't be here anymore. And so it's one of those things I think we're going to keep, I can't even remember what case that was or who it was. But it was one of those things of, okay, so I'm glad the society things are holding you in check. And what things are we saying in the society that we need to not do or do because it's a society? It's not a real person in our life. And so that's a really good, I think, thing to do from time to time is like, who am I trying to impress with this? Or who am I trying not to disappoint? And then would they really be disappointed? Really? Would they really be disappointed? And sometimes the answer is going to be yes. I mean, I'm a therapist. I got to tell you the truth. Sometimes the answer is going to be yes. But sometimes the answer is going to be no. And sometimes the answer is going to be yes, but they really don't have any impact on your life. They're not paying any bills for you. They're not cooking any food for you. They're not doing anything for you. And so it's okay that they'll be disappointed in their own head and own brain. And then one of the things, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just thinking that really makes me think of, we have run along this plan that has been like structured for us. We don't have to. So like I was looking at like potentially getting a new house and thinking of using the biggest bedroom instead of as my bedroom, because I don't like windows. I want a little cave. I want a little cave to sleep in, of using it as my office instead of my bedroom. And then it was like, can I do that? Like, it's my house. I can, like, nobody's going to come in and be like, now this is a bedroom and you're not using it as a bedroom. Like, and the thing is that can be done with everything. Like,
Yeah.
We don't have rules. So if you want to live with your best friend and raise kids together, if you want to get property and like build a little commune and revolve around each other, like you can do that. Like,
My gosh, you can do so many things.
yeah.
So, I haven't talked about this in a long time, but first of all, I can't believe you remember the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. That's
Yeah.
so old. But another movie that I think is really good is that Jim Carrey movie where he has to say yes to everything.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
man.
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I think I want to challenge some people out there to start saying yes. Saying yes to those little ideas in your head that you're scared of because you don't think that